Hello, everyone. We are on hour 6 of my 24 in 24 for Sam's fundraising campaign to also raise visibility of what Samaritans does. Um, as an organization, we're there for our callers 24/7. And today, 24th of July, which is in the UK format, 24/7, is when we usually mark the day by doing something to say, hey, we're there for our callers, anyone who's going through a personal situation or distress, feeling suicidal, you can pick up the phone. And those who are not in the UK, there are local numbers, but you can also email to Samaritans, and we also do web chat as well. So I hope that you will find something useful when you're listening to our sessions. And right now, I have Caroline. Hi, Caroline. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the 5 a.m. club, is all I can say. Hi, I'm delighted to co-host the session with you. It's still dark outside. This sun is gonna rise at some point whilst we're on this call. My name is Caroline, and I have been working in the tech industry, kind of loosely connected to the Salesforce ecosystem for 10 years now. And I work in transformation and adoption primarily of tech platforms. And yeah, I also have two boys. So two lovely boys. One is 15 and one is 11. So yeah, that's me.
I feel like we have a lot in common. Working in tech space. I also have two boys. They both turned 16 yesterday. So
How were celebrations? Did everything go well?
yes, we did something called Activate at the O2, and that was
Okay,
an insane hour of like many games. But they had fun, so that was all good.
good, good.
I, I owe them a birthday cake because I didn't get around to baking birthday cake because we came back quite late. But that was good. So thank you, Caroline, for actually stepping up and also putting forward the topic, which is, as a mom working in tech, trying to balance that with, um, uh, a neurodiverse teen. So do you want to share your story?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, I've got two boys, and my 15-year-old, he has autism. He has probably also got ADHD, but that's never been diagnosed, and has also got learning difficulties. So I'll come on to kind of what the media portrays as being autistic in a bit, but he really struggles with kind of day-to-day um, just interaction, social cues, and those things. But he's again such a loving and caring and for some things so amazingly specific and so much into the detail. And he's 15. He just turned 15 actually, just under a month ago. Just finished year 10, so that is very exciting. And we also have his little brother, which basically is obviously part of our family and with us, and trying to manage that life. I guess the challenges that life throws at one. On top of that, I work full time. I work for one of the big four, so it's not it's been amazing, and PwC has been really supportive. And yeah, it's been 10 years. I've been 10 years pretty much in the space, from going into our own Salesforce implementation 8 years ago to now working very much in the AI space, looking at use cases, adoption, and all of those things. And that's kind of the second part of my triangle. And then so family first, and then work, and then self is the third bit, which is often a little bit off balance, but trying to make sure that kind of stays intact, and everybody, including myself, gets the best of me. So yeah, that's me. But the two boys, they oh yeah, and we also have a dog who just came to say hi. But who was supposed to bring lots of calm, but has not done so. But yeah, that in short is where we are.
How do you find juggling through it all. Actually, let me just take it back. I think working in tech is high paced. Working in tech at a consulting company is pretty much full on. Um, Tell me about how as your son grew up, how what signs did you see, and how did that journey come about?
So we didn't. It was when he was little. It was he didn't make eye contact. He didn't walk, and when others were walking, he didn't talk when others were talking. And I kind of at the time I brushed it off a bit, and I said, he's just tired. He's just to the outside world, but to us as a family, I'm like to my husband, we need to. Something's not 100%. Something's different. And it's really tricky, and I'd say probably for him it was even more difficult. But we basically the whole thing that actually brought the diagnosis, because as a mom, it was my first child. I didn't really know. I mean, every child develops differently, and when you see others developing so significantly more, or at a faster rate, should I say, um, it was just really. I don't know. You kind of wonder, and you reach out to your school, and you reach out to your GP, and the school at the time, I must say, his primary school were phenomenal, um, but we didn't actually get the diagnosis until he moved to secondary. So it was that year 5 to year 6 where we said, listen, we need to actually do something and move into a special needs school to give him the support that he needs. And that was tough. That was a lot of meetings at school. That was a lot of like time out to make sure we can visit all the schools that are potential schools. And that's where, yes, I work for one of the big four, but the thing is, I I don't work in the listening. Say hi. For anyone listening, there's someone speaking later, Sam, who is actually in the consulting space per se. But I am internally focused. So I look after our transformation and our onboarding and making sure
Mhm.
that we as a firm are ready to use the tools and engage with our clients. And that was huge. I mean, we're over 20,000 people. It was the first single org in for a professional services firm. 150 territories were going live, so it was massive. So having to be at work and show up, and then also having to go through this turmoil of
Mhm.
actually I need to go through the diagnosis, and we need to. It's the whole it's the whole process that also follows after the diagnosis, because you get the diagnosis and then you're like, okay, so what do we do with that? What does that mean? And does that automatically mean you have access to all this support? So what was really great is that we had um, through parts of our benefit system, we were able to get like additional hours to get support if we needed it, and particularly for the little one, if I needed to go to appointments to the big with for the big one. So it worked. In hindsight, it was nuts, but it really worked. And my work ethic is I put everything into my work, because that is the thing that, again, that keeps that triangle correct, or should I say, with the same. I don't. I should know all these mathematical, but the actual triangle straight, and that, yeah, working there, I think I would not probably have been able to do that if I were in the organization that I was previously, or I could have, but with a lot more justification. So the support, to my work ethic, again, I put in a lot of hours, but also when I need them back because of appointments, I get given the time, so it was actually really all right. Yeah, so from that perspective, I really really cannot complain at all.
How does it feel like for so your younger one? What are the dynamics like? You've got to take the elder one to appointments and things like that. How are you balancing all of that?
It's it's interesting. So I'm just going to take us back for a second to COVID, because that was just like another level. Obviously, both of them at home, and at the time, they did offer to keep my older one in school, but because we didn't know what we were facing, we didn't know what was upon us. The first term, I kept him home with together with the little one, and gosh, that was interesting. But actually, during that time, in doing some research and just speaking to people, was the fact that actually he's a young carer, and in that way before. And of course, he's a young carer. He teaches his brother how to tie his shoelaces. He supports him in like when he's fussing with a belt or something. He reminds him to brush his teeth. So he the rules are really reversed. And where typically you'd have the teenager maybe a bit more stroppy, but actually just saying, you know what, just get on with it. Um, my little one is actually the one who does a lot of that. And it was during COVID that we accessed a lot of online support, which by a charity, which was for young carers, and it was fantastic because they set up all these different activities, and they sent out like little parcels with things to actually like so they could do crafts together, and yeah, the dynamics day to day are, I'm not going to say it's uber difficult. I mean, we are so lucky that the big one is the way he is, and that they can play Lego together, and they can do like they go and we've got trampoline in the garden, they play together, that is. But there are points where for the little one it just gets too much, and the big one, he's like, the little rubber balls, the little how do you call them, the things you throw and it goes boing 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 boing.
Oh
That's
yeah.
yeah, that's my big one sometimes when he's needing that sensory input. So it's not always easy, but they really love one another and they care for one another deeply. And when one isn't there, they're asking about the other one. So something is going right there. But yeah, the dynamics, it changes day to day, hour to hour, almost minute to minute.
How do you find coping with all of that as a parent?
I don't really know any different. So it's kind of we grew up through it together. So it's there are moments that I also as a parent I'm like, just quiet, everybody just quiet, please. So we have this thing after lunch typically where we have quiet time. So on the weekends we have an hour and everybody just goes in their room and just does whatever they want to do. If they want to tidy, if they want to read, if they want to just potter around and play some Lego, but it's just everybody's just quiet, and just everybody just takes a moment to also, plus after lunch you might want to have a nap, but everybody's just calm and just putting those little things in to just take the volume of the house down. Because one of the other things is he just speaks at a volume sometimes that is just disproportionate to the conversation you're having. So I keep standing there going like that. And I said, let's go from volume 20 down to maybe volume 10. So it is a lot of that adjustment and just learning to, you try things, they don't work. You step back and you say, okay, this didn't work. Let's try something different. And it's a constant adjustment. And when you're it's something that you have somewhat control of. And then when you go in the outside world, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, it's not easy. You need to build in those moments for oneself, like quiet time, where you actually can sit down and just pick up a book, or even actually just, I don't know. I mean, I wanted to say just looking at the dishwasher, but actually I've got them to help me now with the dishwasher. So that's good. But just sit and be, because there's constant movement. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you've learned about yourself on this journey?
That I need sleep. Sleep is really important for me. That is not always possible. I know some neurodivergent children really, really struggle with sleep. Touch lots and lots of wood. I mean, we're blessed in the sense that he only wakes up at 6:30 every morning, and that's if he goes to bed at 10, 11, 12. I'm just thinking like if it happens later, I mean, typically by by 9:30 he's in bed. But falling asleep is then the other thing. So it's sleep is for me is really, really important. So I need to have my 7 hours, 6, 7 hours at least. And I just noticed that I function better. So knowing obviously that we're going to be chatting today, I went to bed at 10 yesterday and I'm feeling fresh.
Good.
Um, but sleep is really important. It's important to have for me, just to have people to talk to, and whether that's with my husband or just with friends or with family. Um, and that's not always easy because sometimes when you need to talk, there's not necessarily the person there, or it just comes at a really weird time. You're like, gosh, this is all getting a bit much, and you just want to chat, you know. So I have one or two friends that they will, no matter what, like will pick up the phone equally to one another, you know, if we're going through something. So to have that person to chat about and just to vent kind of how one is feeling, I think is really, really important, and that really helps me. And then just for me to have those, the gym, I have to go to the gym, and that is really important. But it's challenging when your other half works evenings. It
Mhm.
means um, and then juggling childcare and all of that. But it gets a little bit easier as they get older. But for me to have that session, that few sessions in the gym, and I go to classes, I like listen to loud music in the classes, so that is like that pumps me up, and I come out saying, yes, can conquer anything. And yeah, so sleep, gym, and people to talk to, those three things probably are for me really, really important. Oh yeah, and obviously good food, nourishing food, not too much coffee, tea as well. And yeah, yeah.
Okay. Has the kind of like the growing up with your you know th- does he have any like so at school you mentioned that it's a special needs school.
Yes, correct. Yeah, yeah.
Does he see them outside of school? What's his social circle outside of school like?
I would like to say yes, but it's not. The school is not close by, so it's really tricky. He used to be on travel training, so we used to have a bus that comes to the house and picks him up and takes him there. Sorry, not travel training, transport that picks him up from the house, takes him to school and back. And he's now independent. Like that was a big, big, big milestone this year, which means he travels independently to and from school. So, but even just picking him up on his last day of school, he said, "Mommy, can you come and get me? Because it's the last day." I'm like, "Of course, I'll come and collect you." I saw how one of his friends was like, "Yeah," to another friend saying, "Oh, come over to mine," and he doesn't have that. So we're going to really try and work through that in the coming school year to kind of facilitate that a bit more, because it's not around the corner. It takes time to go there. It takes time to get back. That you need to be. He hasn't got a phone. He's got a brick phone, so you do need to liaise a lot through the parents, and it's he goes through quite a few clubs. So that's the one thing that this year I did so much research, and honestly, the stuff does not get handed to you. The research you need to do to find like a speck of information is astounding. So he goes to several different sports clubs, and like boxing and basketball and all those things. So to help and have this social interaction, but it's not that we then take the individuals that he's met there and meet them outside of those scenarios. That is proving challenging.
That sounds a bit tough. So are you saying that there's not as much resources, easily available resources out there?
No, it's really it's funny because particularly at the age he's at, he's not he where you have neurodivergent children and adults that are visibly whether it is they have Down syndrome or they have another uh, special need. With him, it's not visible at all. So it kind of you kind of it strikes you as, oh, okay, so this conversation is becoming a bit strange, or he's being very specific about something, and then all of a sudden, because you don't, or he's very much kind of in your space, and so this age is very challenging because you can't just brush off the things like a child bouncing around and an adult bouncing around is, or a 15-year-old that is like taller than me, is two very different things. um, I think there's a lot of stuff for toddlers, for young primary, but as you get to the older range, it's really tricky. There's a couple of youth clubs, but again, um, where we live, it's so far away, and so I mean, it involves at least an hour there and an hour back. It's not something that we would send him alone to. That we would go there obviously and chaperone him. And it's just trying to also find these things is just, you don't know. You go to a council website and the information is from 2017. It's really not easy to find, and you need to, because the kids in the school are on such a wide spectrum of needs. It's also speaking to, yes, I know a couple of the parents, the families live where we live, but they have very different needs, and they're not necessarily in his class or connected to him, or like we've tried to facilitate getting together, get-togethers and things. So resources are just like, it's not obvious. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to find. The school provides some, but very, very little. And so you're kind of left to your own devices to just spend a lot of hours in the evening, to just, and on the weekends, to try and find things, or be lucky enough to have heard about something by someone else. So a lot of word of mouth, and that's why I really like to share where what he does, and in the school, and ask people. But the thing is, it's just so it's at such vast distances. It doesn't, for some people, it just doesn't work because they also have family and job and everything else.
It sounds like quite a lonely journey, like
I
without.
think for him, for him it's really tough because he really would want to have so much more connection. He actually says, I want to meet up with friends, and he wants to do things. And when we try, even via the parent, to teenagers, they have their own mind, neurodivergent or not. So it's really about tapping into, um, and we've a couple. So I went to a mainstream primary school, and what I've done recently is try to, again, facilitate things for them to like go to the cinema with someone that they went to primary school with, because us as parents were still in touch. But it's challenging because you don't want to be the parent that, let's give her our son to go to the cinema with. Like, you don't want to be the taken pity upon, but at the same time, it's just, we need to facilitate it, so it needs to happen. And the other day I said to a friend of mine, I said, oh, can we send them to shopping because he needs new clothes and he doesn't know where to go, just go clothes shopping together. So we're trying, that's the latest thing we're trying to, because he's growing at the rate of like, woof. It is very lonely. He Yeah, he needs more, and he will find his tribe, and he has Pokemon as the one thing that is like his life. And that's funny actually, because the founder of Pokemon is also neurodivergent. And just the literally, you can ask him anything about any Pokemon, and there are lots, and he'll know it. Um, so trying to find networks like that, to for him to connect and to have that. I'm very wary of the web and him like kind of going off and making friends that way. But I think it's really just trying to facilitate those group sessions and connections that way.
What would be, kind of like your biggest challenges that you're currently facing?
I think that's the biggest challenge. That is the biggest challenge. And then just worrying about, I mean, I work in AI, and so um, thinking about what is going to happen, I spoke to someone actually where you came to talk the other day at the Salesforce Women in Tech event. I was sat next to her, we were chatting, and her son was just graduating from uni. And I thought, wow, that is fantastic, so exciting. And at the same time, I thought, gosh, that must be so so daunting as well, with everything that we hear at the moment about everybody coming out of uni and looking for jobs, and some people like applying to hundreds of roles before they actually find maybe an apprenticeship. So it's really really challenging, and that is one thing that really worries me about like what will happen in the future. He's 15 now, but I mean that went really really fast, and the next couple of years are kind of formative in that sense of where is he going to work, and so working in AI, knowing the kind of um, the lightning speed at which everything is changing. Maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he could have been a cashier in a shop. Now you have self-checkout,
Yeah.
So it's things like that that really, really worry me. And this is where it's quite funny because I mentioned earlier the kind of oh, he's autistic, so he must be great in maths, and he must be really smart. He is not smart in maths, I can tell you that. Maths is definitely not the area. He is. He has got so many other qualities, and trying to understand how that actually could connect to a job. And he really likes animals. So whether it's something in that direction, but AI for me is just that one thing that I'm thinking of literally on a daily basis. Gosh, all the advancements that we have and the work that we do, and how that's going to change even in the next 2 years,
Mm.
is quite scary. And that is probably one of my biggest worries. Is he going to ever have a job? Is he going to be able to live independently with some kind of structure, or construct, should I say? And those are probably the biggest challenges at the moment.
With so much uncertainty, if you met another a young mom going through this, but maybe a few years behind you, what do you have any kind of like learnings or advice that you might want to share with her to make the journey a little bit easier than how you've had it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I do that literally all the time. I'm like that person. Um, Even now, it's really, really interesting. You don't, it's not something, particularly when you're going through it yourself. So this other parent, or it's two other parents, in fact, their child is going into secondary school now, and I've been on the sidelines, kind of saying, "Oh, I wonder that it's really interesting how certain individuals are interacting with kids, and how they and turns out they're actually going through a diagnosis process at the moment, you know, and it only people are not forthcoming with the challenges that they're facing, because partly they doubt themselves, they doubt they have the system. My goodness, the system is so difficult to get any kind of educational healthcare plan, even just close to it, is just they make it so difficult. I think the top tip is really just stick to your guns. Just literally just trust yourself and trust your gut. And just, if you have that slightest inkling or doubt or worry, talk to people, not just the GP. Talk to the school, talk to the GP, talk to your local like if you have a children's center that you visit, and just chat to people that have got access to um, more kids. So this is where our nursery was phenomenal. They basically said, okay, so he has these moments where he just sits at the table and just stares into space, and like, oh, maybe he was just tired, or that was at that time where you're kind of like trying to find excuses for everything. But then they said, yes, that's happening, that. And then he runs differently, and he does this differently, and this differently, and this differently. You're like, okay, maybe we should actually. And so I think really, really speak to the even if your child is with with other family. Just ask them how are they doing during the day. Just talk about the situation, and don't brush it under the carpet. I think is really important. Um, and then try and there are and I've been advocating for this at the primary school that my son was at, is getting those groups together of parents that have, because they had in our school they had loads of neurodivergent kids. I said just get the parents together, and then you get fobbed off with, oh yeah, GDPR and all of that. And I said no, all you need to do is write a letter to the parents individually, ask them if they want to be part of a group, and get them together. Honestly, there's so many ways around things, but it just doesn't fit into the box of
Mm.
the curriculum and the box of the school sometimes. So you just need to stick it out, and be that parent. I think that is the absolute top tip, is just be that parent, you know, and just go there and question things. And if you get an answer and you're not happy with it, just ask again, because you as a parent, you have the absolute right to do what's best for your child, and you also you spend so much time. Yes, arguably you say others spend more because they're in childcare or in a nursery setting or whatever it is, but you know your child, and if something seems off or something seems different, just stick to it and talk about it. I think that is just the single most biggest tip even.
Basically, you're saying advocate for your child. Do what-
100%, 100%.
Mm, okay. Um, Thank you very much. Our half an hour is up already. I really appreciate you stepping up to.
Thank you for having me. And this is the sixth one. I hope by the 16th or even later that you're still doing well. Make sure to hydrate, have like those power naps in between.
Yes, powerful.
No, but thanks so much, Pei. It's been really a really great session, and yeah, and for everything that you do. It's I mean 17 years plus. You said you started before your kids,
Oh yeah.
so yeah. I mean, thanks for everything, and it's been great to spend some time with you.
Thank you so much. And just very quickly, this is the QR code for anybody who is looking to donate. We are here 24/7, 365 days a year. And the days where the call volumes are the highest are actually bank holidays. So we do not take a rest. So thank you for everyone who's already donated. And also thank you, Caroline, for spending some time and sharing your story with us.
Thanks, Pei.
Right. Have a good